Hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I'm Rini Choudhury and you're watching our special report, Tourism Talks. India is a destination that one doesn't simply visit but experiences. With its stunning mosaic of scenic landscapes, diverse cultures, architectural marvels and ancient systems of healing, India has always been a favored destination for discerning travelers from across the world. The Indian tourism sector ranks among the fastest growing economic sectors in the country. The industry significantly impacts employment and drives regional development while also creating a multiplier effect on the performance of related industries. The Union Budget 2023-24 had highlighted tourism as one of the major sectors contributing to India's overall economy and allocated Rs 2,400 crores to the Ministry of Tourism. By 2028, India's tourism and hospitality industry is projected to generate a revenue of over $59 billion US. The Government of India also envisions creating around 140 million jobs in tourism by 2030. As we approach the announcement of the interim budget on 1st of February this year, let us understand the opportunities that lie ahead at this juncture. Joining me for today's discussion are Ms. Rashmi Verma, former Secretary, Ministry of Tourism, and Shri Aashish Gupta, Consulting CEO, Federation of Associations in Indian Tourism and Hospitality. Delighted to welcome both of you on today's show. My first question to Ms. Verma, we will try to understand the impact of India's G20 presidency on the tourism sector. So India has just completed its year-long leadership of the Group of 20, and over 200 meetings have been held across the length and breadth of the country, spanning over 60 locations. How is this likely to impact India's tourism sector?
I think it was absolutely mind-blowing as far as the tourism sector was concerned, the impact of G20 meetings, especially about the fact that it was taken all around the country, you know.
Right.
So as you said, it happened in 60 destinations. So we got a huge opportunity to showcase some of our destinations which were earlier not very well known, you know. So the delegates were able to go to these destinations and have a feel and experience of these destinations. It also led to upgradation of infrastructure in and around these destinations, which is a long-term thing and which will impact the inflow of tourists in future also, you know. Apart from that, I think it was a great thing for the hospitality industry. There was a huge surge for demand of rooms and other services, other hospitality services. So it was a wonderful year for the entire hospitality industry as far as India was concerned. And they also got a chance to showcase the quality of their accommodation and services, etc. Lastly, I think the most important thing was that we were also able to showcase our world-class facilities for conferencing, you know.
Right.
So India as a MICE destination, you know, has a huge potential, and now we are definitely having world-class conferencing facilities and the kind of accommodation which goes with it. I think we should be taking a lot of effort to promote this sector. And some incentive should be given, and we have to make it competitive as far as other countries are concerned, because bidding for an international conference is a very, very tedious task and a very competitive task. You know, we have to compete with all the other destinations of the world like Turkey, Switzerland, etc. So unless we make our package competitive, you know, it's not going to work, you know. So that's why I think some incentives need to be given to this sector, and some focus should be there as far as this budget is concerned for promotion of MICE tourism in India, because we do have now world-class conferencing facilities. Then the working group of on tourism of G20, you know, it also provided a forum and a platform for exchange of ideas, information, best practices, and you know, also you know, formation of uniform policies, etc. You know, and we were able to have policies beyond our national boundaries. You know, so I think it went a long way in helping the tourism sector. You know,
absolutely. So in the context of promoting and strengthening India's tourism sector. Mr. Gupta, how crucial do you think is brand building in this backdrop? And how can India position itself more competitively on the global tourism stage? In fact, in the course of the past year, the government of India is focusing on showcasing India as a premier wedding destination, and a tourism campaign has been launched to this effect. And in fact, also because of G20 in the backdrop, the year 2023 was declared to be the Visit India year 2023. So how crucial is brand building given this context?
Thank you, Rini. I think the question has the answer itself. Brand building is absolutely the most crucial element of marketing, and more so in the case for India when we are on the world stage showcasing each of our tourism facilities. Brand building is extremely critical. Now, let's take it step by step. I think obviously we are extremely well set up with our Prime Minister being, one of the biggest brand ambassadors for the country, and the country gets showcased so beautifully every time. G20 was a phenomenal step in that direction, where the heritage of India was showcased against a contemporary India. So we had the best of both the worlds. Having said that, a systematic approach to brand building is extremely critical. And to start off with, I think our budgets need to be globally aligned. Probably we should target maybe 3 to 5% of our foreign exchange earnings for brand building. That's the first step. There is already, as you rightly said, a budget allocation. But if we are to target a contemporary, building a contemporary global brand, we need to have that kind of budget spend. Our brand building needs to cover both the social media as well as the out of office or physical media in all our key source markets internationally, which is in the developed markets, as well as all our key emerging markets. That's the next step. So for each of these markets, there needs to be a specific marketing campaign tailored to that market with the in that language and to what that market requires.
Right.
Third, each of our states as well as each of our each of our states have their own uniqueness. So maybe a shared vision between the center and the state needs to also evolve, so that the complementarity of each state can be showcased. We can highlight India as an overall portfolio of multiple tourism products across each state. Then on top of that, if we look at our country, we have, as Rashmi rightly said, we have a phenomenal blend of heritage, spirituality, medical tourism, right, conferencing, sports tourism, education. So each of our segments require a very fine focused marketing campaign. Finally, we need to make it a mix between short haul and long haul, so that both tourists from all the countries, which are internationally, say 7 to 8 hours of flying time plus, and tourists within the 3 to 4 hour flying time can also visit India. So I think to sum up, we are set up very beautifully with the G20, and I think it's time to leverage that. Right. And post-COVID, practically every country came to stage zero in terms of inbound tourism, and I think it's very critical that we need to now restart very aggressively. I know Ministry of Tourism has extremely well done plans for brand building. Right. We need to put that into action with a well-defined budget.
Right. We'll come back to the context of COVID and its effect on the tourism sector. But Mr. Gupta, it's very interesting that you mentioned the term tailored, and you talked about creating a contemporary global image, because that is what we want to discuss in the next question. Ms. Verma, so today we are talking about very niche tourism products, and as Mr. Gupta correctly mentioned, we have focus on wellness tourism and adventure tourism, going so far as golf and polo tourism, cruise tourism, and so on. And in fact, again, owing to the pandemic, we have the idea of workations and staycation gaining ground. And again, as we mentioned, social media. So Gen Z today has very different ideas of tourism. We have contexts like glamping, which takes camping to a more glamorous level.
Yeah.
And we have solo women travel that is gaining ground. So recognizing these diverse interests of tourists, how can our tourism initiatives be tailored and targeted towards specific section or demographics within the country so that everyone has a more enriching experience?
Well, you rightly said it so that the younger generation is looking more for experiential tourism,
Right.
rather than just sightseeing. You know, they want to experience. They would go to a destination, stay there, and have different kind of experiences there. You know, so for them, niche tourism is something which is very, very important. They are not only interested in visiting a site and just going around there.
Correct.
So tailor-made packages have to be offered depending on the taste of the different countries, because the source country youngsters, you know, the kind of youngsters we get from different countries, they have different preferences. So tailor-made packages have to be offered by our tour operators for these groups. And as you rightly said, that the solo women group is really, really coming up. Women only, solo women, you know, these people, these are the target groups which we must focus on. But for that, we have to send across a message of India being a safe country,
Right.
because only then we will have women coming on their own to our country. And I think we have gone a long way in that. Our image has changed from what it used to be, and we are getting a lot of women coming here. But then the packages again have to be tailor-made for their taste and choices, right. Which I think both the hospitality sector and the tour operators have to work together. In fact, now I see that even in the hotels you have special floors for women only. Yes. Guests, and right. You have a different color scheme there, and different safety norms also sometimes, you know, heightened safety norms are offered. So these are things which we need to do, have these kind of tailor-made packages for different groups, because we do have a lot of niche tourism products to offer, right from ecotourism to adventure tourism. Different parts of our country are offering different kinds of tourism. Right. And even farm tourism is becoming very, very popular. Yes. Now. People like to come and stay in a farm and actually do the farming it themselves, you know, and do the milking, etc. But, you know, what we need to understand is that the packages, these packages have to be little different for our domestic travelers and from our other countries, the international travelers, you know. Our domestic travelers also, our younger generation also are looking for experiential niche packages only. So we need to focus on them also. And instead of just, you know, marketing our heritage sites or just doing aggressive marketing and branding of these heritage which we have been having, I think it is very, very important to focus only on these niche products, right. Especially in certain destinations which are known for this, you know.
Right.
So hiking, biking, these kind of fishing, you know, all kinds of things are there. Scuba diving, you know, in some of our islands in Lakshadweep and Andaman. Right. So these are things which the young Gen Z is looking at, and I think we need to have specific packages for them, you know.
Right. So, Mr. Gupta, we are talking about tailored tourism experiences, and in fact, during the pandemic, the nature of tourism changed quite significantly, and digital initiatives directed at tourism became more of the norm in the absence of travel being possible. So, in this context and otherwise, how do you think digital transformation has impacted the tourism sector over the course of the past year? And what role do we envision technology playing in enhancing the overall tourist experience?
It's a very good question. I think obviously we all know around the world, pandemic accelerated the digital transformation, not just for tourism, but for almost all sectors.
Right.
And what one was anticipating happening in 2030 and so on got fast tracked to 2021-22 because of the pandemic. So what has happened in tourism now? Again, I think we need to look at it from different silos. Number one, the overall tourism marketing has become more fine-tuned. you can market to a complete segment of the market. You can also market to a single customer. So the marketing has become more fine-tuned. It has become more customized. You can have mass messaging and you can have customized messaging. Obviously, as Rashmi rightly said, the communication has to be tailored accordingly. Second, the overall payment infrastructure that India has developed, not just for tourism, practically for our overall economy, is going to become a very significant contributor to our tourism. The overall digital infrastructure, be it for ticketing, be it for restaurant consumption, be it for hotels, be it for local sightseeing, uh, multiple experiences that India has, a billion experiences plus,
Right.
all of them get magnified through a digital payment interface. I mean, the whole world watched when the French president paid apostille with through a UPI. I
Right.
think it's some phenomenal communication of intent that the country has done. Third is the overall communication between customers as well as destinations has become closer and become more personalized. All of our service providers, be it in destinations, be it hoteliers, be it travel agents, tour operators, can communicate with the customers pre, during, and post trip on helping them build customized trips, on helping address the specific issues. So, if you look at overall, while our destinations remain the same, our experiences now that India can offer can become more customized, more friendly, more fine tuned, and with payments being fast tracked, because of the overall payment infrastructure. So I think tourism is in a very sweet spot now,
Right.
with a huge digital revolution which has taken place.
Right.
Rini?
Ms. Verma, so we are talking about tourism as an experience becoming more friendly and the traveler being placed more squarely at the center of the experience. So, of course, the tourism sector relies very heavily on the hospitality industry and the services segment. But could you elaborate a little more on the integral linkage that infrastructure and tourism share?
In fact, infrastructure, Rini, as you know, plays a critical role in promotion of tourism in any area, for that matter. And infrastructure, when we talk of infrastructure, it is not only we are talking of accommodation or hotels, hotel rooms only. It's the connectivity, air connectivity, road connectivity, and it's the internet connectivity, because tourists nowadays will not like to go to a destination where there is no Wi-Fi. In fact, you talked of staycations and vacations.
Right.
It would not have been possible during the pandemic. Vacations would not have been possible if our IT infrastructure was not in place, and only with the availability of the Wi-Fi this happened,
Absolutely.
So therefore, all kind of infrastructure is very, very important. So I would say that while the hotel rooms and other kind of infrastructure for accommodation, by other kind of infrastructure, I mean that the Airbnb, homestays, these are really coming up and they are playing a critical role in promoting any destination. In fact, earlier the tourist was dependent only on the hotels, So you either had a very high-end hotel or a middle, low-end hotel. Something in the middle range was not available, and the availability of rooms was also not as much as the demand was, So this was a key problem which we used to face. But with the coming of the Airbnbs and the homestays, in fact, we are going a long way in promoting experiential tourism. Right. Now, many of these youngsters, they like to go and stay in a homestay with a family and be part of that family, experience their culture, experience their cuisine, and they have the folk dance with them, and they participate in all their daily chores, and this is the family which takes them out for hiking, biking, and all kinds of other experiences, So this is the kind of experience which the younger tourist is now looking at, and even the women tourists, they feel safer staying in a homestay, and they feel part of that family, and that bonding happens,
Right.
So the cultural aspect really comes up, So this is one infrastructure which has grown very much in our country, and I think we need to promote it further by giving more incentives to this, and also standardization of these facilities, because there are homestays and there are Airbnbs, but not all are of the same quality,
Right.
So some kind of categorization and standardization is required of the homestays, so that discerning tourists will be able to choose the right kind of homestay which he or she wants to visit, Then the connectivity. We have already grown many-fold as far as the air connectivity is concerned, Many remote parts of our country are also now connected by air, But I think given the fact that the footfalls is increasing many-fold in India and almost all the parts of India, I think we need to increase the number of airports, number of terminals, then the road connectivity. Then another thing which I feel is that in and around our iconic destinations, we need to have proper infrastructure, which we are still a little lagging behind, like clean toilets or a good place to sit and have a cup of tea, So basic infrastructure in and around our iconic sites are something which we need to develop. And for that, I think there is a need for the ministry to take the initiative, select a few iconic sites and do a survey and plug all the gaps and all the whatever is lacking there, all requirements should be.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Gupta, we are talking about the government taking a lead on certain aspects, and we've also been discussing extensively the idea of homestays and Airbnbs, all of which are very deeply rooted in, to a specific region and the culture of the place in question. So, given this backdrop, how has the collaboration between the public and private sectors evolved in the tourism industry, and what role do you think it has played in driving innovation and growth?
It's a very nice question. In fact, it's very fortunate that the person who initiated the Adopt a Heritage Monument scheme is sitting right across the table with you, Rashmi. At our request, and she was very fast in introducing the public-private partnership scheme on monuments, and that has become a game changer, enabling, as she rightly said, developing the monuments periphery for more better experiences. So that's a great activity which has been started, and one can only build up on it because India has multiple tangible and intangible experiences which can be developed between the public and the private participation, given the infrastructure, given the policy framework which the ministry has in terms of Adopt a Heritage. Apart from that, in the last budget that you rightly mentioned, 50 destinations have been fast-tracked on mission mode, and as I understand, Ministry of Tourism is working very aggressively to develop these destinations in collaboration with the private sector. So, through an overall scheme of things under the mission mode destination development, Ministry will, along with state governments, fast track and private sector, fast track these destinations. We already have seen a lot of airports and the railway stations now, which are coming up on the private sector model, in which are being let out, and we see the quality of Indian airports being the best in the class. Hotels have always been run by private sector, and probably there's a lot more scope where the assets are held by state government, the potential to lease out those assets to private sector so that the value of those assets through better experiences can be maximized. Government conventionally, if you look at classic economics, should be in the business and in the business of creating the right frameworks, which our governments are rightly doing, and should let business be, especially service businesses like hotels and tourism, be run and services being run by private sector. So I think we are on the right track. There's infinite potential across states, across municipalities, where a lot of our destinations can be very effectively run by the private sector under a very well-defined framework to ensure their standardization and service delivery.
Right. My last question to you, Ms. Verma. So we've spoken about the impact of the pandemic and the effect it has had on the tourism sector. And it is only now that it has sort of catapulted back to where we were before. So given this context, what measures can we take to ensure that India remains resilient in terms of its tourism sector in the days to come?
I think the most important thing to my mind really is that we have to make our products competitive, you know. So unless we do that, that is something which is very, very important when we look at the packages of other countries, you know. While we are focusing a lot on infrastructure and also marketing, this is something which we need to do. I think we need to have look at the tax regime and come up with some incentives which will give us a competitive advantage. Then very aggressive marketing is required to be continued. It is already being done, both on the electronic media and the social media, especially given the younger generation. And also at the destinations in our source countries. We need to focus on domestic tourism because pandemic taught us that suddenly there was a complete full stop on tourists coming from other countries, and our tourist sites and our hospitality industry has to by and large depend on the domestic tourism. Domestic tourism is growing. The purchasing power, the spending power of our people is growing. The middle class is also now looking for a couple of vacations during the year, and they are not wary of traveling within the country, you know. So therefore, I think we need to focus a lot on domestic tourism, have packages specially made for them. Religious tourism is another area where there is a lot of scope for promoting domestic tourism, as we can see from the experience of Ayodhya. I mean, suddenly everybody in India wants to go to Ayodhya. So that's the kind of branding you can do to our destination, you know. So these are things which we need to continue doing
Absolutely. And with that, we come to the end of our discussion. I thank both my guests for their extremely insightful suggestions and exchange, which has made this conversation extremely enriching. Thank you. Thank you to the viewers for watching Sansad TV.
Thank you.